Locate the bulb you intend to replace. Lift the panel to remove it.
The steps needed to access the other side are the same as this side.
Okay, be careful of the hood latch there, it can kind of get a little caught up.
Remove the rivets. Pry up the center of the rivet first. This will unlock it. Next, pry up the base of the fastener.
We recommend wearing gloves when changing your lights. The oils on your fingers can create hot spots and cause the bulb to burn out prematurely. Turn the wheel to give yourself better access to the lining.
Remove the rivets. Pry up the center of the rivet first. This will unlock it. Next, pry up the base of the fastener. Remove the screw by turning it counterclockwise.
Turn the wheel to give yourself better access to the lining.
Remove the rivets. Pry up the center of the rivet first. This will unlock it. Next, pry up the base of the fastener. Remove the screw by turning it counterclockwise.
So we have the bolt out that's securing this, and we have those two little fasteners out. So we're just going to kind of grab here, wiggle and pull, and you can see that'll kind of pop off there. And then we're just going to go do the same thing on the other side here.
Considering the amount of effort required to access the bulb assembly, we recommend replacing both sides at once.
So we have both of the sections in the wheel well there disengaged for the bumper. Now what I'm going to do here is come kind of to the middle. There's a little wiring harness here that we want to push the tab, and we want to just disconnect that so that it gives us a little bit more room to pull this back. But then you can see we should be able to pull this back quite a good ways here. It is still attached on the bottom, so it will kind of just kind of hang there. But that should give us more than enough clearance now to get either one of our headlight housings out.
There are 4 bolts that need to be removed.
Remove the bolts by turning them counterclockwise.
Then we have this one right here. Now this bolt here is there is kind of an opening for it, but it is kind of underneath part of kind of this air intake here. On the opposite side, it's just wide open.
Remove the last bolt.
So now when we go to pull this out, you will have to kind of lift up on this back part a little bit, kind of like that, to kind of loosen it. And then once you kind of have that out, we should be able to kind of just slide this out a little bit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come back here and disconnect the connector.
Push the tab and pull the connector to remove it. Push the tab and pull the connector to remove it. Disconnect the wire by pulling it out.
So once we get the housing out here, you will notice there's kind of a plastic portion kind of on the bottom here. It kind of helps the bumper go in. But if we kind of just flip this over and kind of turn the housing over like this, we can see there's 2 bolts that basically just hold this plastic part on. So if you do need to remove this and stick it onto the new housing, which there is a chance you may have to, I don't think your new housing is going to come with this. All we have to do is take out these 2 bolts here. And then this plastic portion is just going to lift straight up and off.
Our research indicates that this vehicle is equipped with LED lights. In order to replace the intended bulb, you must replace the entire housing. It is uncommon for LED bulbs to burn out. We recommend checking the fuses before attempting to replace the housing. Never touch the bulbs with bare hands. The oils on your fingers can create hot spots and cause the bulb to burn out prematurely. Use rubbing alcohol to wipe off the bulb if you touch it.
we recommend Sylvania's Silver Star Ultra bulbs for whiter light, better clarity, and the most downroad performance.
Replace the cover by aligning the tabs and pushing it back in place. Replace the bolts by turning them clockwise.
Make sure the assembly is tight and secure.
Reconnect the bulb housing. Push the connector straight in to connect the new bulb. Make sure that any wires that have become disconnected are replaced. Push the connector straight in to connect the new bulb. Reinsert the bulb housing into the vehicle.
Align the tabs and push the housing to get it back into place.
You'll kind of know when it's back into position because there's a little tab that kind of clicks in on the top there, and it should be pretty secure even before you put the bolts back in. So now before we put these bolts back in, you're going to notice we have 4 bolts. 2 of them are silver, 2 of them are black. The 2 black ones are going to go kind of on the top, and then the silver ones kind of go on the side and underneath here. So make sure you're putting them back in the right spot.
Replace the bolts by turning them clockwise.
Make sure the bulb housing is secure.
So now that we have the housing back in, we're just going to kind of come to the front here, and we're going to lift this kind of back up into position, okay? Now once we have it back up into position, the first thing I'm going to do is come to the front here and just reconnect this connector that we disconnected. We're going to do one little extra thing here. We're going to kind of come down here to kind of this little grill area, and if we look through here, there's kind of a plastic part here that doesn't, it's supposed to sit kind of underneath the bumper. However, when you bring this back up, it's kind of sitting on top of the bumper. So what we're going to do is I'm just basically going to take a flathead screwdriver, and I'm just going to get in here and kind of push this rubber kind of part back down into position here. It's not super easy, but it's also not really all that difficult. You just got to kind of work this down into position here. So we have our bumper back up into position, so now we're just going to kind of come to one side or the other and just pop it back in to place here. And then we're going to go do the same thing on the other side, and then we can start putting bolts back in. So now we're coming back into the wheel well. So I just want to point out, the first thing I'm going to do is, if you notice, this right here is kind of it's kind of poking out a little bit. So before we start putting anything back, I'm going to take this flathead and just kind of make sure that this plastic section is kind of in there the way it should be. So now it's in there. If it's not, these fasteners are not going to go back in.
Replace the rivets. Align the base of the rivet first. Next, push down on the center to lock it in place. Replace the screw by turning it clockwise.
Turn the wheel to give yourself better access to the lining.
Okay, so we're going to do the same thing we did on the other side. You can see this is kind of poking out a little bit. So basically I just got a flathead here, and we're just going to we just want this to kind of slide back in here.
Replace the rivets. Replace the screw by turning it clockwise. Replace the rivets. Align the base of the rivet first. Next, push down on the center to lock it in place. Position the panel so that the tabs line up with their respective slots and press in.